higher prices and slower delivery. So when you find yourself in this magical situation where you know 2 to 3 things that customers so deeply care about that you can actually control and ascribe metrics to it and control it, then you forget everything else. So I basically tell my team, if there are 10 points to winning, 8 points are for these, the other 2 points let others win it. I don't care. And you keep doing that every single day, every hour, every second, automate it, build tools, build processes. The amount of stuff that you gather every year spins your flywheel so fast that growth happens. So the 20 years of processes that I've inherited as Amazon India, and then every year I'm working on the same, I'm layering more and more on top of it, it's just very hard to replicate. It's a huge differentiator. So in my view, the only reason why Amazon is growing so fast is because we have very simple mental model to focus on 3 things. Every day I get up in the morning and ask my team, how many unique items did we add? What is the price competitiveness of every single item? And we have metrics, of course, it's hard to just explain it. And what is the click to deliver reliability metric and the speed metric? And that's all we do. So, and we automate the heck out of it. So it just makes your business very simple.
You've, in a sense, I mean, the next question I had was on the growth bit. In India, we believe that we are different from the rest of the world. There's this famous book by Rama Bijapurkar, which has a title saying, "We are like that only." Yeah? And we believe that we are like that only. What's been your experience from an Amazon point of view as a multinational retailer, e-tailer, yeah, also becoming a retailer? We'll come to that later. But from India point of view, adapting to the "we are like that only" element, how's that journey been, both from a understanding customer point of view and from an employee perspective, finding employees and getting them to also get equally customer obsessed? How's that experience been?
Sure, I think from the customer perspective, if you ask that person who said we are like this only and ask them, would you prefer less selection at higher prices and slower delivery? I guarantee you, even that person would say no. So what I'm trying to say is, for the most important things for human beings, the world is the same. I have not come across any country of Amazon where anybody has said, please give me less selection at higher prices and slow delivery. The reason why it's important is, while there might be hundreds and hundreds of things that are different, for the most important things, human beings are mostly the same across the world. Even on the value systems, you won't find anybody saying, we don't believe in honesty, you don't believe in humility, you don't believe in customer obsession, you don't believe in ownership. So our leadership principles are very simple leadership principles that are, for most humanity, it is okay. And our customer pillars for most human beings until we go to Mars or some other place. So what that does is it makes your business and your HR process is very simple. So, I heard a lot when I came to India 3 years ago, you may not find people in India who might share the same leadership principles, you might have to change. But the point is, the leadership principles are so empowering that when we found people who like those leadership principles, they love working at Amazon. So our job is not to find the least common denominator leadership principle that appeals to everyone. Our job is to find the ones that empower people to do the right thing. And similarly on customer, for the most important things, customers are the same. Now, of course, there are differences. So, a customer in India might prefer to use cash versus an electronic payment method. But those differences are on how you execute on these pillars. They don't change your strategy. So your principal belief of what is important, how to measure that outcome doesn't change. So you put all your energy in invention, executing on those pillars versus changing the strategy in every country. So I think it's a huge simplifier. So a lot of the things that we've done in India, whether it's inventing easy ship for sellers or seller flex for sellers, or coming up with I have space programs or ecosystem programs, are all innovations that are customer backward innovations to execute on that principle, not really to reinvent that.
All right. One last question before we go to the audience and look for questions. How does Amazon stay ahead of the customer curve? Now, in the last week or so, or maybe 10 days, I think many of us received videos of Amazon Go. And
it's a pretty freaky idea. I've been involved in testing it. It seems like you're stealing. It's like as close as you can get to feeling like you're stealing and not being caught.
Right.
It's like every time you pick something from the shelf, you're like, I'm supposed to tell somebody, I'm just walking off. It just feels like stealing.
It's, I guess, that thing of 1984, some big brothers watching you, coming almost multifold, isn't it? It's all that visual investment, I guess, yeah. But coming to the question, the Amazon Go, I guess, is one of those things of staying ahead of the customer curve. How do you do that? How do you make sure that, one, predicting what the customer wants. Two, the customer doesn't know what he wants a lot of times, right? And how do you, therefore, stay ahead of that curve? If you could talk to us about that. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great question. So I think there are two aspects of being obsessed with customer. One is you need to have very simple, scalable mechanisms to listen to your customers. So customers do tell you a lot. Every time a customer comes on the Amazon.in website or Amazon.com, the activities that they do is leaving a trail of what they liked or did not like. So you need a very scalable mechanism to parse that out and know what they're telling you. Your customer service calls, every call, every interaction the customer has is a trail of how their interactions are. But that can only lead to continuous improvement. That process allows you to continuously improve the metrics that you're talking about. When you're trying to leapfrog things like cloud computing or Kindle or Amazon Go, you have to take risks. You have to take bets. You have to do experiments. So you need a culture in order to be customer obsessed. You also need a culture that favors willingness to fail. What that means is when you're trying to do an experiment, you obviously don't know the outcome. If you knew the outcome, then it's not an experiment. What you want is the company should do the experiment if they believe in case the experiment is successful, it would be big. It should not require the experiment to be successful. Many companies do that mistake. They want to do experiments that they want to be successful. We do experiments because we feel that if it was successful, it would be very big. And if it would not be successful, then it was one more lesson learned, and you move on. And so for customer obsession, you need willingness to fail. And for willingness to fail, you need long-term orientation. You can't manage your business in 3 months, 3 years time frame. You need to look 30 years out. You need to ask yourself, and hence you need a purpose that is enduring. You need a strategy that focuses on controllable inputs that don't change with time. And you need a culture that encourages risk-taking and failure. And I think those are the pieces that has allowed, so this Amazon Go experiment has been going on for 4 years. The team has been working on visual recognition, and they've failed so many times, but they kept doing till the accuracy rate got to a point where they can launch a store. Amazon Kindle was a 7-year experiment. It took a long time. Cloud computing started 10 years ago. I started working on India many, many years ago, thinking about what to do and so on. So it's just, you need to have a long-term orientation and you need to have willingness to fail to be customer obsessed.
While I was going to go to the audience for questions, the one point that you just raised triggered off a question in me. When we think of customer obsession, and if I were to think of various products which are so customer friendly in that sense, and I think one of the products which right up there is Kindle. So when you mentioned Kindle, I had to ask this question. Could you share with us the Kindle story in terms of how Kindle's come out to be from a understanding customer point of view, and actually delivering everything the customer wants, right? How did you manage that with Kindle? It'll be a good story to share here.
Yeah, sure. I think it goes back to the 3 pillars where I said you customers want more selection at great prices and fast delivery. And in order for you to push the boundaries, sometimes you have to think on behalf of the customer. So you would ask the question, the Kindle vision was created top down, and this is where bold visions come up. It was, how do you make accessible every book ever published in any language to customers in 60 seconds? That was the one-line vision statement given to this team. Because the ultimate speed is you think of a book and you can get it. That's the ultimate bar on selection and speed. And the team started working. They knew very well that a physical book is a 500-year technology. You cannot replace it. And you should not try to replace it. You should be very humble about these things. You should not try to replace a physical book. What you can do is to use technology to improve it. And that's why if you look at a Kindle, it's not a device that tries to speak out. It's a very simple device that tries to vanish away. The ink is all e-ink so that it tries to immerse the reader into the experience of the author and doesn't try to because people have asked many times, why does Kindle not show videos, or why can't you load apps? But that's not the purpose. It's a purpose-built device for reading. And so it required a lot of innovation working back from customers, but it first required you to have a customer backward vision that any book ever published in 60 seconds, and then many, many years of innovation to sort of deliver that.
Thank you. I guess we have time for questions from the audience. Yeah. 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 Can we get the mic to you?
Hi. Hello. Hello, am I audible? Yeah. Yeah. Hi, my name is Elson and I work with Tata Hitachi. Wonderful listening to both of you. Many experts predict that Amazon is going to be the first trillion-dollar company on the planet. AWS becoming a $10 billion company in the shortest time. So when you try to become a trillion-dollar company, would you continue to be a monolithic large corporation, or would it take the shape of a federation of companies, a conglomerate of companies? What do you think would be the future shape that Amazon will take as an organization when it aspires to become a trillion-dollar organization?
I'm not sure I got your question because I'm unable to hear it very clearly. But
yeah. Neither could I actually, yeah.
Shall I repeat it? No.
You might want to crisply say what your key.
No, my question is, what would be the future organizational shape of Amazon? Would it become a monolithic large corporation, or would it become a federation of companies when you want to become a trillion-dollar company?
Yeah, I'm probably not the right person to answer that question, but I can assure you, no matter what the future lies ahead for Amazon, I think the basic of our mission being the Earth's most customer-centric company and the simple things that I talked about are not going to change. I think many companies, I think more than trying to, as you said, being a trillion-dollar company or whatever it is, I think the biggest challenge I see is there are hardly any companies that are hundreds of billions of dollars and nimble as a startup and retain their original culture. The biggest headwind to size, biggest headwind to culture is size. So that's why you need a company that is that is humble and that has very simplistic way of operating so that you can scale. And what I talked to you about of our business model, of our philosophies are examples of how you do that. I mean, just recently, if you would have read how Amazon changed its way of doing performance reviews, it's very, that's a great example of looking at employee as a customer, hearing their viewpoint and challenging something that is 20 years old and doing that in a very innovative way that gives the power back to the employee. So I think there's a degree of humility that's needed, and you need to have your company focus on very simple things that can scale.
We'll have time for one more question. Any other question? No?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Shaurya from Indus Business Academy. My question is that Amazon Go is just launched in the US or might be launching in the next year. So, due to use of technology, the human resource development or human resource demand in the future will be decreasing drastically. So, what is the take on human resource for you? So, it will be decrease, or we can opt for say, as a career in the future.
I think you asked if use of technology would reduce the need for humans.
Yes, sir.
If that was how we thought, then humanity would not have progressed. And the world has gotten more and more productive with technology and found its way to do things that matter to humans more. I think there are the human spirit and this whole notion of trying to protect your boundaries and protectionism and all that is diametrically opposite to how humans are. If I told you right now that I'll give you 2 more hours in your day, I'm sure you'll find something high judgment and more valuable to do than if you had to do some work, mundane work. So I think I'm very optimistic about human beings in general, and technology only provides more time to human beings to do more productive things. I'm sure people will work on other more productive areas that will create far more job opportunities than counting items at the cashier.
Right. Amith, it's been a pleasure talking and having this conversation with you. If I could just summarize or, a few things which came at me, I don't know about the rest of you. This whole thing of customer obsession, what I heard you say is that as an organization, if we are to really be obsessed by the customer and translate that obsession into action by an employee, I guess at the very root, there has to be a very deep sense of humility. That's one thing you mentioned. The second is, I think, to understand what does that customer need and what may the customer need, and being actually predictive about it. And like, the customer may not know everything that they need, so you need to create that need in a customer. And the third being, you need to handle it in small bits. So be very, very focused on how that can be delivered. You said 3 things, and everybody has those 3 things, which perhaps would be different depending on the level of the person. And get people to focus on 3 things every day. And I also read an article once where Jeff Bezos said that when looking at recruiting people, looking for people who actually, even while they're having their shower in the morning, would look for, how can I delight my customer, and start thinking of the customer even in the shower, from that point of view. And I guess that in itself is a certain sense of obsession with what to do with the customer and how to serve the customer. And last but not the least, you said on a everyday basis, how can I multiply what I'm doing? How can I do 2 things better the next day, right? It's been, while in the short conversation, it's not easy to draw a very quick path. I think the simplicity of what you said, that enabled us to draw a simple path in terms of understanding how do we actually translate customer obsession from the organization to each employee. Thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very
much. And a privilege to have this conversation.
Let's have both of you stay on the stage for a second. Very lucidly put, Raj Narayan. Very, very nicely conversed, Amith, as always. Much like you said, good intentions are not good enough, mechanisms or what we need. And as a means of thanking you, let me invite Mr. R.R. Nair. R.R. Nair is the former head of HR for Unilever PLC and a coach consultant, to hand over a quick memento to both of you. And as he hands it over, Amith and Raj, on your behalf, we want to donate, make a contribution to the child that you see on the stage at the back. As from both of you, we have a contribution going to the child, that you see at the back of the stage. And on behalf of him, we want to thank both of you as well.